Hi again. Walter Rauschenbusch. In the final chapter of Christianity in the Social Crisis, What to Do? The subhead is The Pulpit and the Social Question. The new evangel of the kingdom of God will have to be carried into the common consciousness of Christendom by the personal faith and testimony of the ordinary Christian man. It is less connected with the ministrations of the church, and therefore will be less the business of the professional ministry than the old evangel of the saved soul. It is a call to Christianize the everyday life, and the everyday man will have to pass on the call and make plain its meaning. But if the pulpit is willing to lend its immense power of proclamation and teaching, it will immeasurably speed the spread of the new conceptions. With the assistance of the clergy, everything in matters of social reforms is easy. Without such help, or in spite of it, all is difficult and at times impossible. None can deny that the pulpit has the teaching function, and that its obligation runs wherever a moral question can be raised. Those who think the institutional church a departure from the spiritual mission of the church must concede all the more that the church should teach plainly on the moral causes and remedies of social misery. If the church is not to deal with mass poverty by its organized work, its obligation is all the greater to deal with it by the sword of the word. Preaching on social questions is not an innovation in the history of the pulpit. Church fathers, the great medieval preachers, the leaders of the Reformation, all dealt more boldly with public questions than the classical sermonizers of the generations just preceding ours. In all the history of preaching, the pulpit has never been so silent in this direction as in the 19th century before the social movement began to affect Christian thought. Of all moral questions, none are so pressing today as the questions of public morality. On none is there greater confusion of thought, less fixity of conviction, and greater need of clear thought and wise teaching. What right have Christian ministers to back away from these questions and refuse to contribute whatever moral discernment God has given them? It is true enough that social preaching has often been badly done. It has often been ignorant, bitter, partisan, and non-religious. But if it has been done badly by a few who stood alone in attempting it, that is all the more reason why all should develop greater wisdom by common experience. There are preachers who undertake to discuss the largest social questions with the air of a specialist and the knowledge of a tyro. I knew a man who preached a course of sermons on social questions after reading his first book on the subject. He may have been equally rash in discussing the ways of the Almighty, but God is patient and does not talk back. Men are more sensitive when they hear a half-true dissection of the methods by which they get their living. If a lawyer misstates the facts in court, the attorney for the other side will be eager to point out his error. If a minister talks foolishness in the pulpit, his hearers have to suffer in silence without the satisfaction of setting him right. He has a perilous immunity from contradiction, and for that very reason is in honor bound to be careful. In general, it is safe to advise a man who feels the burden of the Lord on social wrongs to go slowly and get adequate information, especially in political economy and the history of social institutions. It is more sensible in every sermon to show the larger application of the truth to social morality than to spill out the entire tub of his mind in a course of sermons on social subjects. The former is also a severer test of his comprehension of the subject. On the other hand, he should not let the fire of the Lord cool down. If he delays utterance, it should be to speak the more forcibly and wisely when he does speak. He should not take the counsel of his timidity, nor wait till he is infallible. Those who hold a brief for vested wrongs are not over-conscientious. I'll put in a link to Hard Sayings of Jesus. One of them is a hard saying on inequality.